All right, boys and girls, so we are going to do a little review about what it means to make inferences. So we will start with this video that does a nice job of showing some examples of how we can make inferences when we read.
Making Inferences at Grammar Songs by Melissa. What is an inference? More importantly, how can learning to make inferences make me a better reader? Let's get started. An inference is a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. Good readers infer by using what they already know, prior knowledge, along with clues in the text evidence to form an idea. Did someone say clues? Yes, Detective Waddle. Looking for clues is very important when making inferences. Let me show you. We make inferences every day in real life without even realizing it when we use the clues around us to make sense of what is happening. Stanley must be hungry. He was probably speeding. That man is scared. Tony does not like sushi. In everyday life, people combine the clues they see with their prior knowledge. Stanley always cries when he's hungry, to form an inference. Stanley is crying. He must be hungry. What inference could you make if you walked into this cafe, Detective Waddle? What clues do you see? I see party hats. I see presents. I see happy children. And I see a cake with candles. So, Detective Waddle, what inference would you make? Use the clues you see and your prior knowledge to form an idea. I know. She is having a birthday party. The clues are the hats, the presents, the friends, and the cake. My prior knowledge tells me that the birthday girl is the one who will blow out the candles. My idea or inference is that she is having a birthday party. Very good, Detective Waddle. I know how to look for clues and make inferences in real life, but how can I make inferences when I read? That is an excellent question, Detective Waddle. Let me show you. When you read, you need to use the same steps your brain automatically takes when you make an inference in real life. First, you must look for clues, but now the clues are found in the text as text evidence. Then you add what you already know, your prior knowledge, to the situation at hand. Finally, you put everything together to form an idea or make an inference. Let's read a short story and look for clues to make an inference. Shelton was getting hungry. He went to the kitchen where his mom was carefully putting long, thin noodles into a pot of boiling water. In another pot, she was heating red sauce. First, we need to look for clues in the text. What clues do you see? Well, Shelton was hungry. His mother put long, thin noodles in boiling water and heated a red sauce. Very interesting. Now we need to use what we already know, our prior knowledge. But how? Well, Shelton was hungry. When I'm hungry, I want to eat. His mother was putting long, thin noodles into boiling water. In another pot, there was red sauce, so she was cooking something for him to eat. Great idea! So now we just need to make an inference. We can form an idea based on the text evidence and our prior knowledge. I know, spaghetti. Shelton's mother is making spaghetti. It all makes sense now. Very good, I was making spaghetti. Have some. Making inferences can be quite delicious. Let's read another short story. We will look for clues and use our prior knowledge to form an idea or make an inference. Bob came home from school one day. He happily opened the cookie jar. It was empty. He saw some crumbs leading to the living room. When he entered the room, his little sister Megan looked up at him and smiled. She had crumbs all over her face. First, we need to look for clues in the text. Detective Waddle, what clues do you see? Well, the cookie jar was empty. There were crumbs leading to the living room. Megan looked at Bob and had crumbs on her face. Very good. Now we need to use what we already know, our prior knowledge. Detective Waddle? Well, when Bob came home and found the cookie jar empty, he was disappointed. I know I feel disappointed when things don't turn out the way I planned. I also know that Bob followed a trail of crumbs to the living room where his sister Megan had crumbs on her face. I know little kids make a mess when they eat something. My prior knowledge tells me that Megan was eating something. Very good. Now put your clues and prior knowledge together to form an idea or make an inference. I know! The cookie jar was empty because Megan ate all the cookies. It all makes sense. The empty jar, Megan's face, and the crumbs. Poor Bob. Bob! Megan! I'm baking some chocolate chip cookies. Hooray! Hooray! I infer we will eat cookies today. Hooray, Detective Waddle! You did a fantastic job learning to make inferences. Thank you for joining me at Grammar Songs by Melissa.
All right, so we are going to read a story. It is realistic fiction, so that means that the story is made up, but it's realistic in that it could really happen. I want you to listen for some important details in this text, and then we will talk a little bit more about some of those details after we read the story. So it's called A Quiet Camping Trip. The Blake family loved camping. Do you hear that? Dad asked after they set up their tents. Rosa was helping Mom build a fire. She stopped and listened. I don't hear anything, she said. Exactly. It's quiet. That's my favorite thing about camping. Mom put a big pot over the fire and began to stir it. Soon the delicious aroma of bubbling stew filled the air. Crunch! Crack! Did you hear that? Mom said. They all stared toward the dark woods. Two bright eyes peered back at them. I don't know about you guys, but I think I would be scared. A huge brown bear lumbered slowly out of the woods, its nose sniffing the air. Everyone froze. Stand very still, Mom said quietly. Don't make a sound. Rosa didn't move anything but her eyes. It was as if she were looking around for an idea. Suddenly, she grabbed the bag of popping corn and threw it into the fire. Pop, pop, pop! It sounded like the fireworks on the 4th of July. The startled bear stopped. Then it turned and raced back into the woods. Dad laughed. Sometimes noise is a good thing. All right, so just like that video that we watched, we want to, as good readers, practice making inferences. And remember, making inferences is like being a reading detective. We use clues from the text to figure out what is happening, to read between the lines, or to draw a conclusion. So to think about those things that maybe the author isn't writing, but we can still figure out. So if you think about this, I look at this text here, it says it's quiet. That's my favorite thing about camping. So that makes me think that he's so excited about it being quiet. So I can infer that they live maybe in a city or somewhere where it's louder because Dad is so excited about it being quiet. If I think about Rosa, what can we infer or figure out about Rosa? So Rosa was helping Mom build a fire. What does that tell us about Rosa? I know it can tell us that I think she probably likes to help, that she's not lazy, she's a worker. So those clues help us know a little bit about her as a person. So today when you're reading stories, whether it's on Tumble Book or Kids A to Z, I want you to try to make some inferences and be thinking about what can you read between the lines of those characters. And if you find some where you practice it, go on Seesaw and make sure you let me know. I love to hear those things.